Okay, cut back. So what you wanna do is the same thing, exact thing. Sorry, it's because I cannot speed up. Yes, that's because. This will take long. Now, if you don't want a difficult, now you could just do something else. But what I like to do is just put them in different thing, because then you'll have to put the back hair differently. So where I want thingy to go is wanting to go. Okay, let's make it like this. Painless beauty, doesn't your face come with a warranty? See, this is what I'm telling you. The So I'm clearly making Crystal Nova. But only in a different way. Wait. Oof. She's not fat. Wait. I have to move it up. No. Then. Yeah, like that. Okay. Is this thing still on? Yes, it's still on. So basically what you want to do, is put the body parts right there. But if you want to move them, do this or this. I basically like to doing this one because it's the more funner way. You can move its size. I wish I had Gacha Club in my phone, but I can't. Okay. I should make it more bigger so I can literally, not that big. Okay, so basically what you want to do is do this. Or you can do this. I think it's good like that. Let's merge it down. Merge down. If you see this, no worries, this. But the way to do this is go like this. You see all these colors? You basically just have to move it like that, and you see it makes another layer. All of these colors I got for a photo. Okay, so you want to do this now. Oh yeah, also join Discord. I don't have a group, but I'll make one soon when I could use it. No. Yes, like that. Okay, like that. Now you see, it matches good. Okay, now the quicker way to do it is just using lasso. Everybody knows that. Oh, and also has a little bit of here to twist right there. Wait, what? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Then come here, feet. Wait, I have to do something that I'm mistaken. Right there.
Do I need long lifer? What are you eating, Stinky? Oh.
When you add Orgain clean plant-based protein, you get 50 immune-supporting, vitality-feeding, vibrantly clean superfoods.
Like that.
Good, clean.
Okay, I fixed the mistake. Now, merge down. She's not strong.